Cambridge Insider podcast time. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cambridge Insider podcast. Early December, the Cambridge Network, a lot happening. As per usual, joining me on the podcast, my co-host, Meg. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing, Stephen?
Also doing well, thank you. As I mentioned, early December, the weather's starting to turn a little bit in the east. I know down south where Meg is from, they just have great weather all year round. But up here, we're starting to bundle up a little bit. So a lot happening in the Cambridge Network, as I mentioned, and we thought it a good idea to just, update our listeners, update our Cambridge Network extended family about what's happening in the network, and what we've been doing, what we've been keeping ourselves busy with, because it's a timely reminder for you, either as a student, a family, an agent, or potentially a school partner. It's a timely reminder of some of those great initiatives that we do have happening. So a very exciting thing that we've just heard about, Meg, and I know that you were chatting a little bit about this earlier, is our new combined effort with a company called Argo. We did a podcast a couple of weeks ago. Do you sort of want to just in a nutshell introduce that to our listeners? And we will have more exciting news coming about this in a couple of episodes' time.
Sure. So Argo was on a couple of weeks ago to discuss their service, which is amazing service, and we have since joined a partnership with them to make the Argo service available to all of our students and everybody, all international students who need assistance with preparing for visa interviews. In particular markets, that's a very stressful situation oftentimes. So Argo actually has retired or former immigration officials who had given visa interviews, and they assist a student in preparation. So it's available for half an hour and hour-long increments, and we're really excited about that service. It's a great opportunity for our students. They spend so much time preparing for school interviews that this is one of the most important interviews that they'll have.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And just to give a little bit of background, so we, at the Cambridge Insider podcast, we did an interview as Meg mentioned, and you can go and have a look at that at some of our podcast episodes, a couple back, maybe a month or two back, with the CEO and the founder of Argo. And we just thought it was an incredible service. We've since gone into partnership with them. So we'll be doing a fully fledged podcast interview with our Cambridge side that's involved in that. But as you mentioned, it's just an incredible service because I think it hits a very important part of the application process for students is ultimately getting your visa. You can go through everything. You can do absolutely everything right. If you don't get that visa, you're unfortunately not allowed to come into the country. And we've seen it happen from students from all over the world.
And it's devastating.
It is devastating.
I mean, so much work, so much effort. So it's such a big dream because once you failed twice, your possibilities, it's a big problem.
Absolutely. And two things that I do want to say. I think as a family, look at this service as a very important yet sort of small, investment that you can make into your total 3 or 4 years that you intend in spending, in the US at a high school. I would also say to schools, this is something to look at, to research, to think about, encouraging your students or potential students to take part in some kind of class, some kind of preparation for these visa interviews so that you as a school can make sure when you identify a great student that you think can add great value to your program, you're giving them the best possible chance to get on campus, which is ultimately what you want. So to all of our listeners, a couple of weeks down the road, we'll be keeping you up to date. We'll have a full episode about our new partnership with Argo related to student interviews, visa interviews specifically. Moving on from that, I think the other thing that I did very briefly want to mention, something that Meg and I have been speaking about quite a lot, that's a big focus for Cambridge Network at the moment, is spring admissions. Meg, a couple interesting things happening, I think, in some of our southern states that you mentioned earlier on, that a lot of those schools are full for spring. What does that mean for, potentially some of our other partners in network? What should schools be looking at right now for spring admissions?
So in several states that we work with in the South, it's students who have applied for spring enrollment aren't even able to interview. Their applications can't be reviewed because these schools are full. They're full either with their international students and their domestic enrollment, the class is already locked, so they can't move forward. So for schools that are looking for and open for students, this is the time to really make sure that you are fully open, that all of your documents and pricing, etc., is in order and established, because there are students looking at it. It is approaching the time. January is when most students are coming back, very early January this year for many schools. So make sure, check it out, and make sure that you're open. Contact your representative, whoever you're working with. Make sure that they know and get it going, because there are students who are looking, and so those students are often referred someplace.
Exactly, and I will also say a word of warning to the schools, or at least something to look out for as well, is when you do get contacted about potential applicants, that ability to respond really quickly, the turnaround time, is such an important indicator often of whether that student will enroll. You know, I've seen a school wait a week to confirm an interview. By the time they've waited, that student's moved on. You know, so we know where the market is. We've seen this little rebound. Make sure you utilize every opportunity. When somebody reaches out and says, is there potential here for an interview? You know, as a school official, we need to be on top of it. That interview ideally needs to be confirmed and have happened within a week. You know, that's a great turnaround time if we can have that student interviewed in a week and the interview results out there. So, you know, again, contact Cambridge Network, your program managers, your student development managers, your SSAs, if you do have any questions about opening up for spring, or if you feel like maybe there's some more information you want to share, you know, about your spring admission and enrollment, be sure to contact them for that.
And that's true, Stephen. And not only is timeliness for the interview, the whole entire process really has to speed up, because these students need to receive their I-20, which also has to be a fast turnaround. And then they have to be able to make the appointment and sit for that all-important visa interview, as we were discussing before. So really prep your team and your whole entire team and be ready, because when it happens, that's also added incentive for a student to make a very quick decision, because they also realize in order to get here in a timely fashion, they need to act very quickly. So we're all part of that process.
Absolutely. So spring admission, feel free to reach out to your team. They're very well versed in where you should be at this stage. The third thing that I want to bring up, you know, that we've certainly seen a lot of at Cambridge Network has been the leadership cohort. We did a podcast episode about it. I feel like maybe a month ago. I don't know. My time frame is a little messy at the moment, but let's call it a month ago, where we reintroduced the leadership cohort, and it's now officially up and running. We are seeing students enrolling in the leadership cohort. The feedback has been exceptional from everybody that's been involved. You know, Meg, what's been your experience just working with some of our SDM teams and some of the schools that have been involved in the leadership cohort?
The students are really enthusiastic. They feel that they're really getting a lot out of this. And the added bonus and incentive is that there's actually a certification at the end that's remarkable for college transcripts. And it's setting up systems that they'll use throughout their whole entire careers, not just their academic careers, but they're learning how to identify their skill sets and how to utilize. And then they actually have a project, which they're all really looking forward to and starting to think about. So it's exciting to see these kids working together this way. And it's also that they've gone back, some of those students have gone back to their schools and are talking about it, and we're getting more and more interest from domestic students. Would be really exciting to add in. It's a program that just kind of took off like wildfire. It was a great idea, and the perception has been just very exciting.
Exactly. And it does differ from regular leadership cohorts. I don't want to go into too much detail, but feel free to, you know, listen to the previous episodes we've done, or just simply contact your Cambridge representative. Again, everybody in the network is very aware of what the leadership cohort is busy doing and has done in the past. It's strange, something just came to my mind. We did an episode a couple of weeks ago about college applications, and as a student, how you need to do something different and something weird to stand out. Isn't this leadership cohort just the perfect thing that students can get involved in to help them be different, help them be unique? So look into the leadership cohort. If you're a school and you're thinking about perhaps offering this, to your domestic students. If you're a family and you have a domestic kid that you think could really benefit from something like this, the Leadership Cohort is available to absolutely anybody that is interested in it, and it's an incredible product. So again, feel free to reach out if you do have any questions about our Leadership Cohort. Two more things. I'm trying to race through this because we love to keep our episodes within like 15-20 minutes. We've got two more to talk about, Meg, that I'd love your thoughts on. I know it is getting towards sort of the Christmas period. A lot of grades and reports and those types of things are starting to come out as we head into, January and the spring enrollment semester. Academic services and tutoring and additional academic support is so important. We're seeing a lot of grades come out. Your thoughts on students, but also schools looking potentially to get that additional academic help before, and I don't want to say it in a negative way, but before it's too late. You still do have that second semester to turn a lot of grades around.
There is time, but it's very important to address these issues as they come up. By now, when students find themselves in academic problems, it's usually because it started earlier and it's not been fully addressed. So now when we're in an academic crisis, then we really need to say, okay, we have a semester. We can start now. Through tutoring or academic services, you often can get up to speed to make this semester as great as possible, and then really be able to build on that knowledge moving forward. So tutoring and academic services through Cambridge has incredible teachers with amazing track records. I've seen kids really turn themselves around from situations that they didn't think was going to be possible, and they ended up doing just as well as they had expected to do in the beginning. They just had to do a lot of catch-up time, and it's so worth it to address that quickly. So if you work with students who need assistance and maybe you don't have it to offer, maybe your school doesn't do in-house tutoring that's available, or the student just needs much more academic assistance, then or if you're a student who's looking for help, or the parent of a student who's looking for help, please recognize that excellent students use tutoring or academic services as a tool, another strategy. And for students who find themselves in a jam, sometimes that happens. The biggest thing that you have to do is get yourself out of it. And the best thing to do to get yourself out of it is to find professional assistance, right? So that's what we're here for. 100%.
I actually had a school in Massachusetts reach out to me probably a month ago now that identified 3, if not potentially 4 of the international kids that are just struggling a little bit, which is completely normal, completely understandable. And the school have actually arranged now through Cambridge to have a fully fledged academic services component, in class for the new semester coming up. It actually started, about a week ago, and it'll go towards the end of the year where they can reassess. So it's just a school being proactive. For schools, for families, for students, it really is academic services and additional academic support, be it ESL or subject-specific tutoring, to me is simply a way to protect your investment. As a student, you've invested so much to get you. As a family, you've invested financially so much to get you. As a school, you've done so much of the hard work to make sure you have the student here. We all want that student to be able to graduate and go on to be successful, all 3 of those parties, and making sure that academically they're in a sound place is certainly one of the ways in which you can do that, one of the very important ways. So feel free to reach out. Our academic services department is just blows my mind with the type of work they do and the success stories that we see coming out of Sarah Guo and her team. So
yes, and I think it's very important for students to realize, everybody knows what tutoring is. Not only that, it's for both super advanced students as well as students who find themselves in a situation where they need extra assistance. And academic services and ESL or ELL, all of that is academic English. It's not just how well you speak. It's not how well you can have a conversation. It's the norms and structure of academic English, which is a different thing than how you perform on a TOEFL. So it's very, very important, and it's very helpful to students of all levels.
Yeah, very important to remember that. Well said. The final thing that I do want to mention that's just been, again, we've spoken about a couple of highlights. Our Cambridge Enhanced Marketing has just been an incredible highlight for me specifically the past couple of months, and I know the team that we work with, simply because we've just seen schools turn around their recruitment, turn around the number of applicants and students that they're getting in that are interested in coming to their schools, simply because of their ability to recognize how important investing into their marketing has been. Cambridge Enhanced Marketing is nothing new to our listeners, but certainly if you are getting towards this Christmas period, maybe you haven't seen a lot of interest in your program, maybe you are frustrated with how the program is moving along, reach out to your Cambridge your Cambridge representative, your Cambridge team. Have a conversation with them. I've had many schools that have, at the end of the day, just been able to at least have a conversation and then go back to a board of directors, go back to a president, and speak frankly and honestly about where the market is and what you need to do at least to address that, if that is one of the goals of the program. So Cambridge Enhanced Marketing, Meg, I know you've also been heavily involved with many schools that have seen incredible turnaround and incredible success with the product.
The reach of the messaging and the branding has been really incredible when you look at the statistics of how many thousands of people in the target markets are actually hearing the messages and actually acting on those messages. So especially in a time where the market is constricted, so making yourself rise above is so much important. Getting your message out is so important. And we're also in a situation where travel and all the traditional means aren't even possible right now. So in order to turn that situation around for you, Cambridge Enhanced Marketing is really the way to go. And the response from the market itself has been really positive. There are definitely people out there who are still looking and considering and eager to hear about what schools are doing in the United States. Absolutely.
Just as a brief example before we say goodbye, we've been doing a couple of live open house events and live events, which is part of what we offer as Cambridge Enhanced Marketing, part of the packages. And we've seen streamed across various platforms, which is what we do. We've seen anything from 650 to 2,500 attendees at these events, which is an incredible number that are coming, that are showing interest. We're doing interviews afterwards. We're setting up interviews. We're getting applicants, and schools are enrolling students, which is the ultimate goal of this. We want to make sure that there's longevity in this market, and this is one of the ways in which we can do that. So, you can have great content, but if you can't put that content in front of people, it's a little bit pointless. So think about Cambridge Enhanced Marketing if you are at a place now heading into Christmas where you are wondering about applicants and enrollments. Meg, as always, a pleasure to talk with you. I think this has been a good episode. Sometimes we do need to update our listeners. So much happening in the network that we're proud of, and so many great initiatives, and our extended family, our school partners, our students, our agents, our families are such an important part of our network that we want to update you and keep you updated with great initiatives, but also great successes. Any final thoughts from your side?
There's always a lot going on, so that was really great to do a whole wrap and touch base on so many different things and so many different areas of services that are so important right now, and what you can do to be ready for them or to participate in them, because it's incredibly helpful to the students and the market and the families that we're all reaching. So.
Absolutely. To all of our listeners, as always, thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you around the next episode of the Cambridge Insider Podcast. Bye-bye, everybody.